Hey everyone, and welcome to NFL Nexus. We are diving deep into a really pivotal offseason for the Green Bay Packers. This is a team that finds itself in some pretty unfamiliar territory, especially as they're trying to build on what was, let's be honest, a surprisingly awesome season. It's a fascinating time in Green Bay.
So, for the first time in what feels like forever, the Packers are walking into the NFL draft with their biggest bargaining chip, a first-round pick. And look, this isn't just some small inconvenience. This fundamentally alters their entire game plan. It puts so much pressure on the front office to be absolutely perfect when the clock starts ticking on day 2.
And this whole situation, it just begs the critical question, right? How in the world do you build a true championship contender when you're completely locked out of the draft's premiere night? As we're about to see, the answer has to be found somewhere in those middle rounds. And let me tell you, the path forward is anything but clear.
All right, so here's how we're going to break this whole thing down. First, we're going to look at this draft situation, which is frankly unprecedented for them in recent memory. Second, we are diving into social media to hear directly from the fans what are they predicting. Third, we'll get into a massive shakeup that's happened in the front office. And finally, we're going to explore who could be next in line to lead the team's talent scouting for years to come. Okay, let's dive right into the draft itself. General Manager Brian Gutekunst is staring down a challenge that is going to test every single part of his team-building philosophy. Without that safety net of a first-round pick, this is where the real scouting, the nitty-gritty evaluation absolutely has to shine.
So yeah, forget about all the glitz, the glamour, the big stage on Thursday night. The Green Bay Packers won't even be on the clock until pick number 52. That's deep into the second round. What that means is all those consensus can't-miss blue-chip prospects, they're going to be long gone, already holding up the jerseys of other teams.
And that right there, that's the whole ball game. The entire success of this draft for the Packers hinges on their scouting department's ability to find absolute gems on Friday and Saturday. They've got to find guys who can come in and make an impact right away. Players that maybe other teams passed on because of one little flaw. It's a total high-wire act with almost zero room for error.
So, with the stakes being this high, we had to see what the fan base was thinking. We went straight to social media to get a feel for the mood from some of the most passionate fans in all of sports. And, as you'd probably guess, they came through with some pretty bold takes.
One name that keeps popping up is Malik Muhammad, the cornerback out of Texas. He's a really intriguing player, and some analysts see a bit of former first-rounder Greg Newsome in his game. But, and this is a big but, he weighed in at just 182 pounds. For a physical defense like the one Green Bay wants to run, that's a lot lighter than their usual targets. It definitely raises some red flags about how he'd handle bigger NFL receivers and hold up in the run game.
Okay, another name you'll see a lot is Julian Neal, another cornerback. And on paper, he looks like a perfect puzzle piece for what the Packers need. The problem isn't the talent, it's the timing. The odds of a defender with his kind of upside at such a premium position still being on the board way down at pick 84, that feels like a real long shot. It's possible, but not something you can bank on.
Of course, not everyone is convinced that Brian Gutekunst is just going to sit on his hands and wait. And that has kicked off a ton of speculation about the one move that he's kind of become famous for, trading down.
And the theories on this are all over the place. Some fans are predicting a small move, just sliding back a few spots from 52 to pick up an extra mid-round pick. Others have sketched out these more elaborate deals, like this one here with the Raiders, which would send the Packers back to 67 but net them an extra fourth-rounder. In all of these scenarios, the goal is pretty simple. Get more bites at the apple. Accumulate more lottery tickets.
But hold on, there's a flip side to this coin, and it's a big one. While trading down and collecting picks is almost always a sound strategy, this might be the one year where it just doesn't make sense for Green Bay. Because they don't have that first-round pick, they are desperate for high-end, top-tier talent. Trading back even further could be way too risky and just water down their chances of landing a true difference maker.
And of course, you can't scroll through fan predictions without finding a healthy dose of good old-fashioned skepticism. You've got fans who are already preparing for the worst, bracing for disappointment. It's a defense mechanism that, let's be real, most of us seasoned sports fans know all too well. It's part of the fun, right? In this slide, man, this just perfectly sums up the absolute chaos of judging a draft in real time. Do you remember the collective meltdown from the fan base when the Packers picked Jordan Love? Total outrage. Well, in hindsight, that looks like a genius move. But then you have the A.J. Dillon pick, which was also met with a lot of frustration. And in that case, the fans' concerns about taking a running back that high turned out to be pretty much on the money. It's just a great reminder that all we can do is analyze the process, because the real results, we won't know for years.
Now, it's really important to understand that all of this draft day drama isn't happening in a vacuum. Behind the scenes, the very people who are responsible for making these huge decisions are also going through a major period of transition.
This offseason, the Packers front office lost an absolute cornerstone. John Eric Sullivan, who was the team's vice president of player personnel and a key figure in that building for 2 decades, left Green Bay to take on a brand new challenge.
And let's make one thing crystal clear. This is not just about losing some veteran executive. Sullivan was widely seen as the most important person in the entire scouting department, second only to the GM Brian Gutekunst himself. For all intents and purposes, he was Gutekunst's right-hand man in the war room.
To really get the gravity of this loss, you have to understand what this job actually is. Think of the VP of player personnel as the lead architect of a team's entire talent evaluation process. They oversee everything, from the college scouts on the road to the pro scouts looking at other teams. They are absolutely crucial in building the final draft board. So losing that architect leaves a massive hole to fill, especially right before a draft this important.
So, Sullivan's departure naturally blows the door wide open for the next huge question facing this organization. Who is going to step up? Who is going to be the new architect that helps shape the future of the Green Bay Packers?
And when you look at how the Packers operate, they really have 2 playbooks for a situation like this. The first is their old standby, their traditional method, promote from within. Elevate a trusted person who's already in the building. The second option is to look outside, but, and this is key, specifically for someone who already gets it, someone with deep roots and a full understanding of the Packer way.
What's so fascinating here is just how strong the pool of potential candidates is, and they all fit one of those 2 molds. Internally, you've got John Wojciechowski, who's the current director of player personnel and seems like the logical next man up. You also have Milt Hendrickson, who's known to be very close with Gutekunst. Then, you look outside and you see these respected veterans with deep Green Bay ties like Reggie McKenzie, the former Raiders GM, and Alonzo Highsmith. And this timeline, it just really paints the picture, doesn't it? When you follow the threads, you can see these overlapping histories. These aren't just random names on a list. You're looking at a kind of front office family tree that goes back 30 years. It just reinforces the idea that whoever they pick, that person is going to come in with a core, foundational understanding of how this team does things. Ultimately, it really all boils down to one simple truth. A team can have the greatest blueprint in the world, the best plan imaginable, but that plan is only as good as the architects they choose to actually build it. The success of this draft, and probably many more to come, depends directly on who Gutekunst picks to be by his side leading that personnel department. So we end up right back where we started, at a crossroads. The Packers are trying to navigate 2 massive challenges at the same time: finding new, impact talent without a first-round pick, and anointing new leadership to go out and find that talent. The real question is, are we just watching a simple evolution of a model that's been historically successful? Or are we about to witness a fundamental revolution in how the Green Bay Packers are built from the ground up? Before you go, if you enjoyed this breakdown, do us a huge favor. Hit that like button, subscribe to NFL Nexus, and drop a comment below letting us know what you think the Packers should do. And hey, if you're looking for something fun for the football fans in your family, be sure to check out our coloring books. They're perfect for kids and adults. You can find the link in the description or just scan the QR code on your screen. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.